Rex Tillerson seemingly calming things, downplaying the threat, John, for downplaying the threat of an immediate threat.
That's right, yes. I mean, I think this was a classic pattern that we've seen basically through the Trump presidency, is that, especially in foreign policy, that the president will come out with something that sounds certainly very eye-catching, sounds very outrageous, I guess, if you want to go that far. But then, pretty quickly, you have coming in to smooth the waters the Secretary of State or people like Mark Master sort of telling people, well, actually, maybe, U.S. policy hasn't really changed that much. And that certainly has been the pattern that we've seen for most of this year. But of course, none of this is actually written down, and for investors trying to figure all of this out, the key question is still, when is the president bluffing and when is he not bluffing, and we just don't know that.
Is dialogue going to work? Are sanctions going to work? This is the result of the escalated sanctions. The rhetoric has gone up a few notches. Is dialogue the ultimate solution here?
You sort of have to break it down. I mean, if you look at all of the range of options, from the military options on one end of the spectrum to sanctions and negotiations on the other end of the spectrum, the military options are pretty bad. I mean, whichever way you slice it, if there were to be a unilateral strike by the U.S. on North Korea, I mean, the repercussions would just be, shocking and horrendous. So that then sort of raises the question, well, then maybe the only way to go is through negotiation, and this is what Kim Jong-un craves. What he wants is to be seen, around the same table, on the same level as the likes of Xi Jinping, and most importantly, the President of the United States. Now, that might seem a very long way away from where we are right now, but stranger things have happened. And if you look at history, the history of politics, the history of sort of settling these apparently unsolvable problems, they do tend to be solved by the unthinkable, and people who do eventually sit down around the table and negotiate with each other. We saw that with Nixon in China. So on a smaller scale, we saw it in Northern Ireland. So, I wouldn't necessarily rule anything out at this point.